The Boston Red Sox have provided us with memorable
What a
moments.
mob on this field. They're coming out of the stands from all over.
Prolific Hall of Fame
A
performers.
home run for Ted Williams in his last time at bat in the Major League.
Moments of spine-tingling poignancy.
Canigliaro hit the home run his first time at bat at Fenway Park.
All sprinkled with a dash of humor
Yes, just completely covered up home plate with the dirt, took off his helmet.
and a pinch of melancholy.
New England, I love you.
They have taught us so much about life. That no lead is safe.
To left field and deep and down he goes back and it's gone. Unbelievable.
That heroic performances can be aided by a wall that giveth,
High ball, left center. Grand slam.
and a wall that taketh away.
Into left field. Yaz is going back, and it's off the wall. Yaz plays it directly off the wall. Here's the throw to second base. He's out.
From the Red Sox, we have learned that it is better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. That you can will yourself to greatness so that people will in fact look at you and say, there goes the greatest hitter that ever lived. That impossible dreams do come true. That there is power in prayer and body English. And that good things will come to those who wait. The Boston Red Sox are first and foremost a New Englander's birthright, the single most unifying source in a 6-state region, but also part of a Red Sox nation that stretches far beyond regional boundaries.
But they're not just a town team. They're not just the Boston Red Sox. They belong to all of us. There's something about this team and its storied history. There's something about the amazing people that are down to one name: Ted, Yaz, Manny, Pedro, has made the Boston Red Sox, not just for us regular guys, but for the writers and the Hollywood directors. They make us feel better about being alive.
Steps up to the plate, you know, he's got that weird stand.
Yeah.
And then, boom, he clocks it, you know. High fly ball on the left field line. 35,000 people on their feet, yelling at the ball, but that's not because he's waving at the ball like a madman. He's going, get out! Get out!
Writers and musicians and television people and historians wax eloquent about the Red Sox, and you know, all the way from the John Updikes to the Stephen Kings, they weave the Red Sox into their stories.
But unlike other icons in New England, from the coast of Maine to the back roads of Connecticut, the Red Sox are a thread in the fabric of New England. Dissected in December, fantasized about in February, and fanning the flames of our attention and imagination from opening day to October, the Red Sox are New England's most treasured jewel. They play in a ballpark, defined as a place not to just watch, but to participate in a slice of Americana. A ballpark where a Red Sox game, especially our very first Red Sox game, paints a perfect picture in our minds.
I can remember walking down the runway to the dugout, and as the green monster appears out of the dugout, you're going, oh my gosh, it's big, but it's not as big as I thought it was going to be, and it was just so green out there.
I grew up in New Hampshire. I'm a New Englander. That's where my roots are. That's where my values are. The dreams and the fantasies to wear a Red Sox uniform, to hit one off the wall, to play in Fenway Park. And then to do that. I mean, you can't imagine the feeling.
And I always dreamt about playing for the Red Sox, you know, and I'd be dreaming and the bases would be loaded and Red Sox would be behind 3-0. And I'd come up with the bases loaded, and I always hit a home run.
When I first went out there and we looked at the green monster, it looks like a golf ball, kind of, because there's so many dents in the wall. And I looked up at the wall, and I'm like, wow, all the great players, Babe Ruth, DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Yaz, and you probably have a dent against that wall. I know I got a dent in there, too, and my dent's who's it next to?
This is deep.
I mean, this place was electric. It didn't matter who we were playing. We had 35,000 at Fenway during those 7 years I was here, and it was a magical time.
For some reason, Boston just seems to be different than any other field. You feel the heat from the fans. You really feel that they know what baseball is all about.
It's the 100-year history of the Red Sox that's being passed down from generation to generation within families. It's this legacy of love.
With the Jimmy Foxes and the Lefty Groves and Joe Cronin, what they left you was a beautiful thing. It was a treat. It was a lesson in baseball.
If Red Sox fans are the foundation upon which the franchise has been built, it is appropriate that on March 9, 1901, it was a fan, Hi Dixwell, who broke earth for the Huntington Avenue grounds. The home of the Boston charter member of the newly formed American League. Right from day one, the franchise became a newsworthy item. The Americans brazenly raided the established Boston National League team and signed Jimmy Collins, baseball's greatest third baseman, who would double as manager. If they wore numbers in his day, Jimmy Collins would have worn number 1. Not only was he the Americans' first player and first manager, he also had the team's first hit and scored its first run. Among his admirers was John L. Sullivan, the Boston strong boy and the first heavyweight champion of the world. Their credibility in the Boston sports landscape became forever and firmly entrenched when they lured Cy Young from St. Louis. Befitting his status as baseball's premier pitcher, Young insisted that he bring with him his personal catcher, Lou Krieger, a renowned defensive specialist. The Americans' popularity reached frenzied proportions in 1903 when they played in baseball's first World Series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. A crowd of more than 16,000 was so unexpected in the 9,000-seat grounds that some of the Americans, including Cy Young, manned the ticket booths. The police were called in to move the crowd back when they invaded the field for a close-up look at the teams warming up. The meeting place for so many of these Boston baseball fans was the Third Base Saloon in Boston's South End, where proprietor Michael "Nuff Said" McGreevy ruled. McGreevy was Boston's first baseball raconteur, who dispensed drinks with one fist and ended arguments with the other when he pounded it on the bar and proclaimed, "Nuff said." So vocal were these fans, called the Royal Rooters, that when the Americans beat Pittsburgh to capture that first World Series, the Pirates said that it was due to the distraction caused by the Rooters singing an annoying song called Tessie. If ever there was a World Series for a team to celebrate with their fans, this was it. Of course, it did not hurt Boston's cause that they possessed baseball's first king of pitchers in one Cy, as in Cyclone, Young. Usually pitching with just a day or two of rest between starts, Young posted 33 wins for the world champs. In 1904, he pitched the modern era's first perfect game, as the Americans captured their second consecutive American League pennant. But there would not be another world champion flag to raise on Huntington Avenue. It seemed the National League champion New York Giants considered it beneath them to be on the same field as a team from the upstart American League. For Cy Young, there is consolation. He is the only pitcher in baseball history to record more than 500 victories. Cy Young, baseball's first pitching legend, is forever immortalized, as the game's most prestigious pitching award bears his name. In 1907, Red Sox owner John I. Taylor seized upon the fact that the rival Boston Nationals made a uniform change by slipping out of their red stockings. Taylor was inspired by the style and adopted it and a new moniker for his nine, the Boston Red Sox. A name that was also headline-friendly for his family's other enterprise, the Boston Globe. In 1912, the team embarked on what would turn out to be one of the great years in Red Sox history. While the ball players were getting in shape by hiking through the woods at their spring training site in Hot Springs, Arkansas, in full equipment including spikes, no less, owner Taylor was getting a new home ready for his Red Sox in Boston. He named the park Fenway Park because, as he reasoned, it's in the Fenway section of Boston, isn't it?
Unlike almost any other city, maybe Brooklyn, Boston has been about a neighborhood game. The fact that the Huntington Avenue grounds was where it was, Fenway where it was saying, this is our neighborhood place. This is where we go to be together.
The original Fenway Park consisted of an uncovered left field grandstand, a roof covering the right field stands, and wood bleachers in center field. On April 20th, 1912, Fenway Park opened as the new home for the Red Sox, and with it was unveiled an idiosyncratic 25-foot wall in left field. The Red Sox were a serious subject. The Boston Globe reported that no time was wasted in childish charades. The Red Sox, before a crowd of 24,000 fans, beat the New York Highlanders 7-6 in an event that shared page one billing with the sinking of the Titanic. The game was also another in a long series of emotional affairs with the Highlanders, who 1 year later would become known as the Yankees. Just 6 days after the opening, light-hitting Hugh Bradley of Worcester swatted a home run over the fence at Fenway. This surprised the experts, who in the dead ball era had predicted that it might be years before that happened. And they certainly never expected it would come off the bat of Bradley. It was the second and last home run of his major league career. The dead ball era demanded defensive stalwarts, and the Red Sox had the best in the fabled golden outfield of Duffy Lewis, Tris Speaker, and Harry Hooper. Center fielder Tris Speaker possessed a strong and accurate arm, and his single-season record of 35 assists still stands as a Red Sox record. He combined his defensive prowess with a .344 career batting average, an average that remained untouched as a Red Sox record until tied 5 decades later by Ted Williams. Tris Speaker was a superstar, well before that term was introduced. Right fielder Harry Hooper was a college graduate with a degree in civil engineering. After Hooper signed a contract for $2,850, John Taylor approached him about putting the degree to use in the construction of the new Fenway Park. Instead, Hooper put his strong arm to use to cut down enemy runners who tried to advance a base. Harry Hooper is the Red Sox all-time leader in assists. Left field possessed another Fenway idiosyncrasy in the form of a 10-foot slope in front of the wall that was also used as a seating area for overflow crowds. This area became known as Duffy's Cliff, named for Duffy Lewis, the player who mastered it by running up and down it to track down fly balls. The golden outfield of Speaker, Hooper, and Lewis was fortified on the mound by Smokey Joe Wood. In 1912, Wood reeled off 13 straight wins, setting up an epic duel with the fireballing strikeout king, the Washington Senators' Walter Johnson. Johnson had just completed a 16-game winning streak of his own.
Walter Johnson had his 16 straight, and he was beaten on his 17th. And I had about 11 or 12, and I was on my way to beat. I never even gave it a thought about beating Johnson's record, and that's what got the crowd in. Don't ever remember a crowd being up around the home plate. They were all over around the home plate, and it opened up to let me warm up for the game and so on.
But Wood sent them home happy, emerging victorious in a 1-0 classic that was as good as advertised. Of Wood, the gracious Walter Johnson said, "Can I throw harder than Joe Wood? Listen, my friend, there is no man alive who can throw harder than Smokey Joe Wood." Wood finished the greatest season ever by a Red Sox pitcher by compiling a club record 34 victories. But the best was yet to come in the World Series of 1912, as he added 3 more wins against the New York Giants. In the clinching win, he bested legendary pitcher Christy Mathewson. The Red Sox World Championship provided the exclamation point on their inaugural season in Fenway Park. And life was especially good for Smokey Joe Wood and his roommate Tris Speaker, the most valuable player. But it was Wood who was the toast of the town in a parade that stretched from Fenway Park to Faneuil Hall.
Maybe the best thing that you could ever have been in American sports history was to be Smokey Joe Wood in 1912. At the peak of your physical powers, living in a city that was captivated by baseball in those innocent times, life must have been pretty good for Smokey Joe Wood. I wouldn't mind trade places with him that year.
The face of baseball changed forever on July 11, 1914, when Red Sox rookie George Herman Babe Ruth emerged as the winning pitcher in his major league debut. The public adored Ruth, but his teammates did not. The rookie was perceived as being disrespectful by his veteran teammates due to his penchant for taking too much batting practice. So they hand-delivered their wrath by sawing his bats in half. Ruth pitched sparingly in his first season. The emphasis instead placed on refining his technique, including his odd habit of sticking the tip of his tongue out of the corner of his mouth, which inadvertently tipped off the opposition that a curveball was coming. But if Ruth was on the outs in 1914, by 1915, with a record of 18-8, he was very much in as the Red Sox beat the Philadelphia Phillies to win another World Series with a golden outfield playing the lead roles. Duffy Lewis batted .444. Tris Speaker made electrifying catches in center field. And Harry Hooper socked 2 home runs, the first time a player had multiple home runs in a World Series. 1916 saw the departure of Tris Speaker to the Cleveland Indians in a trade initially vilified by his teammates and fans. But Larry Gardner, a native of Vermont, filled the void and became the only regular that season to bat more than .300. A fixture at third base for 10 years, Gardner starred in the 1916 World Series against the Brooklyn Dodgers. He swatted a 3-run inside-the-park home run for a repeat world champion Boston Red Sox. By 1917, Babe Ruth had become a feared pitcher, but not one without his eccentricities. In one game, he was ejected after landing a punch to the neck of umpire Brick Owen, after Owen called 4 straight balls to the game's first batter. With Ruth banished, Ernie Shore was rushed into action. The base runner was promptly erased attempting to steal. Shore then methodically set down all 26 batters he faced in a 4-0 Red Sox victory and was credited with the only perfect game at Fenway Park, thanks to the temper of Babe Ruth. The Red Sox were back in the World Series again in 1918, and the legend of Ruth loomed larger as he set a then-series record by pitching 29 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. Some of those innings dating back to the 1916 series. Babe Ruth had emerged as the most dominating left-hand pitcher of his time, and the Red Sox were the most dominating team of their time, winning 4 World Series in 7 years. Back in Ruth's rookie year, Harry Hooper prophesied about his 19-year-old teammate. He could eat more than anyone else, and he could hit a baseball further. Hooper would be proven right on both counts. Ruth became a full-time batter in 1919 when he slugged a record 29 home runs. He almost doubled that the next year, but it was not to be with the Boston Red Sox. Owner Harry Frazee, calling Ruth one of the most inconsiderate men I ever met, traded him to the New York Yankees. Bob Quinn became owner of the Red Sox from 1923 to 1933, a decade in which the team in Fenway Park fell into disrepair. They had their stars. Ira Flagstad had a .294 batting average over 7 seasons. Howard Emke pitched a no-hitter and a one-hitter on consecutive starts in 1923, and Dale Alexander won the batting championship in 1932 with an average of .367. But Quinn's Red Sox won only 43 games in 1932 while losing 111. Attendance was down to an average of less than 3,000 spectators per game. The Red Sox were in trouble and needed a savior.
I would come off the road after the Red Sox played away from home, and first thing he'd see me, he'd say, "Hey, Curdy," he called me Curdy. He says, "I hit 6 off the wall the other day," or I, counted the times he hit the wall or over the wall. He used to work out with a bunch of kids while the Red Sox were on the road. I think he owned the ball club just to do that.
Tom would work out in the mornings with the clubhouse kids and the ground crew, and then they would take their blanket and go out and sit in the outfield in the sun. Gene would bring a lunch over and their portable radio, and they'd sit there and listen to the game. And Gene would keep score, and Tom would listen, and Gene would tell me about, he would be criticizing the announcers if the announcers weren't telling him on every pitch where the pitch was, high or low, and whether it was a breaking ball, fastball. He was so intense and in the game, and he had Gene keeping score, so it was amazing.
When he was a young man, his uncle owned the Detroit Tigers. Thus it was that Thomas A. Yawkey was able to enjoy hunting trips with Hall of Famer Ty Cobb and other members of the Detroit team. When an inheritance cleared when Yawkey turned 30, he purchased the Boston Red Sox from Bob Quinn. The date was February 25, 1933.
Think about it, in the middle of the Depression, the worst crisis in America since the Civil War, and into Beantown comes Yawkey, and he buys up this team, and he brings it back to the former glory. He starts putting together a winning team and gives us all something that we can hold on to, something that we can care about again.
Yawkey quickly hired his boyhood idol, former Philadelphia A's great Eddie Collins, as his first general manager. They immediately began renovating the ballpark, including the left field grandstand, which had been destroyed in a 1926 fire and never replaced. Then, devastation struck. On January 25, 1934, just months after the renovations had begun, a 4-alarm blaze taking 5 hours to control caused extensive damage to Fenway Park. But miraculously, with workmen scheduled around the clock, Fenway Park celebrated its grand reopening just 3 months later. The 25-foot wooden fence in left field had become a 37-foot steel and sheet metal wall. Duffy's Cliff had been greatly reduced, although not completely leveled. Fenway Park had become the park we all know and love today. Next, Yawkey and Collins needed to renovate the roster. They went on a talent buying spree that brought 4 future Hall of Famers to the Red Sox. Catcher Rick Ferrell was the first acquisition, later to be joined by pitcher Wes Ferrell. They went on to become the best brother battery in baseball history. The next marquee name the Red Sox brought in was Lefty Grove from the Philadelphia Athletics. Grove had won 20 or more games in each of the 7 previous seasons. He was considered to be the best pitcher in baseball. After a 4th-place finish in 1934, Yawkey huddled with Washington Senators owner Clark Griffith. Yawkey decided he would send $250,000 and shortstop Lynn Larry to the Senators for player-manager Joe Cronin. This would have been an extraordinary deal by any definition. However, the fact that the 28-year-old slugging shortstop with Griffith's son-in-law made the deal even more intriguing. Another twist was added on opening day in 1935 when Cronin faced the man he had replaced as Red Sox manager, Bucky Harris, who was now managing Cronin's former Senators. With manager Cronin calling the shots and shortstop Cronin establishing himself as the best-hitting shortstop of his time, the Red Sox could only muster a 4th-place finish in 1935. Back to the drawing board they went. After another deal with Philadelphia's Connie Mack, Joe Cronin was able to write the name of Jimmy Fox, baseball's most feared slugger, into the lineup. In Fox, the Red Sox had the prototype right-handed slugger. He was destined to launch prodigious home runs over the wall in Tom Yawkey's renovated ball yard. It was expected that Fox would challenge Babe Ruth's record of 60 home runs in a season. Said a beaming Fox, "Brother, I'd have to have the eloquence of a politician to express my joy at coming to Boston. My dream has come true." Unfortunately, there was little to celebrate about the team for the remainder of the decade. But there was plenty to revel about with 4 Hall of Famers. Rick Ferrell's .302 batting average is the highest career average of any Red Sox catcher. Lefty Grove had the best career of any American League left-handed pitcher. In his 8 seasons with the Red Sox, Grove notched 105 wins, with none more meaningful than his final one, career victory number 300 in 1941 at the age of 41. Jimmy Fox was one of the best power hitters ever. He finished his career with 534 home runs and was the first player after Babe Ruth to top the 500 home run mark. Double X had the greatest season ever by a Red Sox batter in 1938 when he batted .349, knocked in a team record 175 RBIs, and set another team record with 50 home runs. Joe Cronin, the player, averaged 310 seasons with the Red Sox, while manager Joe Cronin's 1,071 victories are the most in Red Sox history.
But Yawkey truly respected Joe's leadership. Besides his abilities at the bat and in the field, he looked at Cronin as a leader on the field. So it was Joe's leadership skills that Yawkey recognized in the early days. And then you can see his leadership skills were so good, he became president of the American League.
And in a final footnote to the 1930s, Red Sox catcher turned coach Moe Berg became one of the most intriguing players ever to wear the Red Sox uniform. He was a player without any major or even minor accomplishments. However, the third-string catcher aroused suspicion when he got the high sign from the President of the United States.
In 1938, and we opened the season in Washington, and President Roosevelt was the president at that time. And Cronin says, "You mind taking some pictures here with my movie camera?" And when I was about ready to take a picture, I saw the president wave to Moe Berg with a sign of "Hi, Moe." And that sort of settled me that he knew something about Washington. And that was a sure cure for me, because when the president was waving, a little wave like this, you know, in "Hi, Moe." And I said, "Oh boy." He says, "Now, Charles, don't tell anybody." So I didn't tell anybody.
It turns out that the catcher was also a spy. During World War II, Berg infiltrated enemy lines to gather military intelligence for the United States. Berg was a Princeton-educated scholar of whom it was said, "Moe Berg can speak 7 languages, but can't hit in any of them." On March 3, 1938, the Red Sox signed 20-year-old Theodore Samuel Williams. He had been playing with his hometown San Diego Padres of the Pacific Coast League. At his first spring training, he took a riding from 3 veterans, Doc Kramer, Joe Vosmick, and Ben Chapman, outfielders from whom Williams was trying to take a job. When Williams was farmed out to the Sox top minor league team in Minneapolis, he left word for his tormentors, "I'll be back, and I'm going to make more money than all 3 of you put together." Ted Williams was cocky, and he was right. In 1939, Boston did not have a skyline, and Fenway Park did not have bullpens in right field. Then the kid came to town, for once and for all time. His teammates were immediately attracted to the sounds of him and Jimmy Fox taking batting practice.
They would ring off of there. It's the word they use. It used to ring. The sound was so good, you know, and you can hear guys take batting practice, you never hear a sound. But you hear these guys like Fox and Williams and those fellows, they were solid bangs.
Ted Williams' impact on the game was immediate. The rookie led the majors in runs batted in, and he was 3rd in home runs with 31. In 1940, Tom Yawkey had bullpens constructed in right field. The area became known as Williamsburg for the target practice it provided the young phenom. Every day presented him with an opportunity to perfect his science of hitting, and he worked, innovated, and tweaked it to a fare thee well.
We were in St. Louis. Ted says, "Geez, they sent bats to me here in St. Louis." He said, "I don't know why," but he said, and he had 2 bats there, and I went away for a minute or 2 outside, and I came back, and he's shaving off the handles, getting them to fit him, and all the shavings are on my bed. And I said, what in the world are you doing?" Then he got up to swing. You know, he's looking in the mirror. He did take a swing, and down goes my poster bed. He said, "Geez," he said, he wasn't worried about the bed. He says, "Call him, get another bed up here."
In 1941, when we went to the All-Star game, we were together. We were at the lobby of the Book Cadillac Hotel in Detroit, and Ted went up to Mr. Hilrick. He was the founder of the bat factory. He said, "Mr. Hilrick," he says, "I want some 32-ounce bats." And I can remember Mr. Hilrick throwing his hands up. He says, "Ted, you can't get good wood in 32 ounce." Well, and Ted says, "What good is wood if you can't handle it?" But Ted could handle a 35-ounce but what Ted's theory was, if he could take a 32-ounce bat and be that much quicker to hit every ball on the fat part of the bat, he was going to be better than taking the 35-ounce bat and maybe just missing on the fat part of the bat.
Quite often, I pitched batting practice to Ted because he felt that in Fenway Park, he saw very little left-hand pitching simply because of the short left field wall. And when we got on the road and they threw left-hand pitches at him, he felt he wasn't as sharp against them. So I threw batting practice against him, and we played under game conditions. I wouldn't tell him what I was going to throw him, and I was trying to figure him out, and I figured if I can figure Ted Williams out, heck, the rest of the guys ought to come easy.
The 1941 All-Star Game was held in Detroit. It would serve as Ted Williams' national coming out party.
The American League was determined to win the All-Star Game. The players back then were determined to win the All-Star Game in the American League. My brother Joe hit this sharp ground ball to the shortstop and beat the throw to first base, which would have ended the game in the 9th inning. So Ted had an opportunity. He came to bat and faced Claude Passo. All of the manager, the coaches all went out, and in those days you could circle around the pitcher and discuss things. For the longest time they talked to Passo. Whatever they talked to this day, I'll never know. But I thought it was a question of whether they should put him on and pitch to me or was the next batter. And I was saying, well, it may be me and I'll be up there. But they decided to pitch to Ted, and it was a bad mistake. So he hit the ball against the facade, and that was it. That was the ball game. I've never seen Ted more elated, jumping around first base.
Yes, hitting that home run in the All-Star Game in the 9th inning was certainly a big thrill, and I'll never forget the rest of my life.
Think about the summer of 1941. This is just before the end of innocence, you know. By December, we're going to be drawn into a world war that's going to kill 50 million human beings. But that summer, the kind of pleasures that they gave us, first the hitting streak, 56 games by DiMaggio. And then, miraculously, after that subsides, what comes up? Can somebody hit 400 again? Can they do it?
Entering a season-ending doubleheader in Philadelphia, Williams had a batting average of .3995, which rounds off to 400. Manager Cronin suggested to Williams that he sit out those last 2 games.
Ted's getting ready to go to bat in the first game of that doubleheader, and he's standing, there and grinding away at his bat as he was wont to do. The catcher, Frankie Hayes, said, "I just want you to know that Mr. Mack says if you're going to hit 400, you're going to have to earn it. But we're going to pitch to you."
He did play the first game, at any rate, and came up with 4 hits and put him over the 400 mark. Now, definitely, he did not have to go back and play the second game because there was nothing at stake at the time. The season was over. But he insisted on going back and playing the second game, and his feeling was that if he was going to hit 400, he was going to do it legitimately. And he went back and got 2 more hits and 3 times at bat and ended up with 406.
If I look back now, I'm glad that's the way it happened because they'd always say, well, he might not have done it if I had sat out. So yeah. As it turned out, I'm glad that I did play.
In 41, when Ted hit 406 and Joe hit in 56 straight games, that Joe was selected the most valuable. And I recall my brother Joe saying that if anything, they should have had 2. They should have had a tie. There should have been 2 most valuable player awards.
In the early 1940s, the Red Sox had a nucleus of Ted Williams, Bobby Doerr, Johnny Pesky, and Dom DiMaggio. Williams was the star, and in a hitting universe of his own, but he was surrounded by a great supporting cast. Bobby Doerr played his entire 14-year Major League career with the Red Sox. One of the best second basemen to ever play the game, he started 5 All-Star games and was the MVP of the 1943 Summer Classic.
In the American League 7th.
My favorite hero really was not the Ted Williams, who we loved in those days too. For whatever reason it was, and I guess it was because I played second base, loved Bobby Doerr. And then later in life, to come to know Bobby as a person, his character and his personality really justified my affection for him because he's such a wonderful man.
In many ways, Dom DiMaggio was the unsung hero of the great Red Sox teams of the 1940s and 50s. He had a lifetime batting average of .298 and played in 7 All-Star games. In a 10-season period beginning in 1940, and not including the 3 seasons he would lose to World War II, no major leaguer had more hits than Dom DiMaggio, yet history has labeled him as a slick-fielding center fielder. But he was also much more than that.
Dominic DiMaggio belongs in the Hall of Fame. To me, Dominic DiMaggio was the perfect player. Never made a mistake, this guy. Wonderful, wonderful player.
Johnny Pesky was the first Red Sox player to have 3 200-hit seasons, a feat he accomplished in his first 3 years with the team. These young Red Sox were clearly on the verge of greatness, but the promise came to a halt when World War II broke out in 1941. Like everything else he did, Ted Williams' induction into the Navy was big news. Doctors had determined that his near-perfect vision occurred in only 6 out of every 100,000 people. Instead of using that eyesight in his pursuit to be the greatest hitter that ever lived, he served his country as a Marine fighter pilot. By 1943, Fenway Park could have been painted red, white, and blue. World War II was raging. Air raid alerts interrupted games. And Red Sox personnel, including Joe Cronin, did their part by sending mementos to the troops and assisting service baseball teams. It was not until 1946 when Teddy Ballgame and the rest of the Fighting Red Sox came marching home. It would prove to be a year to be remembered.
Fenway was packed again. Oh yeah, a lot of excitement all through baseball in '46. You know, with Greenberg back and DiMaggio back and a lot of the great Yankees back all over the league and all. And the crowds were tremendous. Everybody was hungry for baseball again.
We came back and we went to ball games. It was what we did and loved them.
The 4 big wheels, Pesky, Dorr, DiMaggio, and Williams, returned to play behind a Big 4 pitching staff.
We had a kind of a Big 4 pitching staff for Tex Houston, Joe Dobson, Mickey Harris, and myself. And you were supposed to go 9 innings. If you didn't, you kind of felt bad about yourself. It's a different world now.
Ferris starred.
Boo Ferris won 25 games. Tex Houston, 20. Mickey Harris added 17. And Joe Dobson's 13 gave the starting staff a total of 75 wins.
We thought we had a good enough team, which it was. We had good pitching. We had Dave Ferris won 25 games. We had 4 guys with double figures.
We were scoring runs like guys trying to make a double play on us, and we were scoring from second base for tying, winning runs, stuff like that, you know. That it just seemed like we were just overly aggressive. Everything was going good.
I wanted to win 105 victories as our ultimate goal. We ended up 104.
Ted Williams returned from the war in fine form. In the 1946 All-Star Game in Boston, he hit 2 home runs. One was the first ever hit off Rip Sewell's eccentric eephus pitch. He also hit a home run that season that was so enormous that a red seat still marks its landing spot an astonishing 502 feet from home plate.
One of them balls that you hit hard, but you still get plenty of elevation to it. And that ball just kept going. And I remember it went up 38 rows in the right field. And I don't think a ball's ever been hit any further in right field since I've been here than 38 rows. And the reason I know it was the 38th row is because he took a picture of a fellow hit a guy in a straw hat up there and broke his straw hat.
In a desperate attempt to slow down the nearly unstoppable Williams, Cleveland Indians manager Lou Boudreau designed a shift, the Boudreau shift, that packed the right side of the field while leaving only a short left center fielder on the other side.
Now, I must admit that for a long time, I was a little stubborn about hitting the right field and the left field, and why wouldn't I be? I'd been a .350 hitter for 12 years that way, and there was no reason to change.
We could have won the pennant at the end of August that year, but it took us 2 weeks to win one more game to clinch it for us, and the great Williams did that for us.
On a lucky Friday, September 13th, pitcher Tex Houston promised, "Get me a run and we'll win." And Williams did just that.
Ted hit a line drive. Of course, they shifted on Ted, but the left fielder wanted to make a shoestring catch. The ball got under his glove. It was an inside-the-park home run. Once those long legs got running, they were running pretty good.
Houston had his 1-0 victory, and the Red Sox clinched the 1946 American League pennant. In an exhibition tune-up for the World Series against a team of American League All-Stars, Ted Williams was plunked on the elbow. Williams hit a meager .200 in the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals, including a rare bunt single against a version of the Boudreau shift, but he never used his hurt elbow as an excuse. Despite the underwhelming contribution from their star player, the Red Sox and the Cardinals went to a Game 7. In the top of the 8th, and the Red Sox trailing by 2 runs, Dom DiMaggio came to the plate.
He lines a base hit off the right center field wall over Slaughter's head for 2 bases, scoring Russell and Metkovich with the tying run.
So just as I rounded first base, I dug down for that extra burst of speed, which was the dumbest thing I could have done, and I pulled this hamstring muscle. And I barely got to second base. And we held up the game for the longest time, long time. I wanted to play, and Cronin said, "Dom, you can't."
With the score tied at 3 in the 8th inning, the Cardinals' Enos Country Slaughter singled. Harry the Hat Walker then drilled a hit to left center. Slaughter raced through the third base coach's stop sign and sprinted for the plate. He just barely beat the Red Sox relay throw home. It is a play that has been replayed by those who were there countless times since. In a play that has become part of World Series folklore, Slaughter was safe at home, and the Red Sox dreams for 1946 went up in a cloud of dust.
And that was the disheartening part of the whole thing. As you know, Slaughter made his famous run at the bottom of the 8th inning, and he would never have gotten that famous run of his in, and he's entitled to it, but it would never have happened had I been out there. Never. And he knows that.
In 1947, there were 2 off-the-field highlights. Fenway's first night game was played, and former Yankee boss Joe McCarty, the winningest manager in baseball history, succeeded Joe Cronin, who became Tom Yockey's new general manager. On the field, Ted Williams' performances at the plate were becoming legendary. He captured his second Triple Crown in 1947, but was denied the Most Valuable Player award as a Midwestern writer completely left Williams off his ballot. He lost the honor to the Yankees' DiMaggio by 1 voting point. Williams, who had previously penned his own column for a Boston daily, was a frequent target of the press. The slugger did not help himself by being brash and opinionated. In short, a newspaper writer's dream.
You have to understand that when Ted came to the Sox in the late 30s and the early 40s, there were like 8 newspapers in those days. You had morning and afternoon. You had all this competition going on. Everybody trying to get the story. In those days, it was all about newspapers. So a lot of it, you had a lot of misinformation, everybody trying to beat one another.
He did get ripped bad. I think that in those days, you know, you had all those little towns around there, and so many writers got after every ball game. My locker was be like where those bats are, and Ted was right over there. And my gosh, these writers were, I mean, sometimes you wonder if you're going to get into your locker.
In 1948, a medium of a different kind, television, took the Red Sox into homes throughout Greater Boston. This was a season remembered for 1 extra game. The Red Sox and the Cleveland Indians tied for first and were forced to play at Fenway Park in the first American League playoff game. There was pregame uncertainty about the Red Sox starter. And there was a shock when Denny Galehouse, a veteran journeyman with a mediocre 8-7 record, took the mound.
Denny Galehouse had pitched well against Cleveland in our last road trip to Cleveland, and I think that's what Joe McCarthy had on his mind at that time, how well Denny pitched. But Denny, in all fairness to Denny, he was in the twilight of his career, and I think he was pretty much shocked when they went out on the field. He was out on the field shagging flies doing batting practice. They went out and got him off the field and brought him in, and when he was told that he was the pitcher, his face got kind of flushed, and I think it was quite a shock to him.
The Indians promptly jumped on the veteran right-hander. Indians player-manager Lou Boudreau thumped 2 home runs, and Cleveland coasted to an 8-3 win. The Indians won the pennant and spoiled a dream World Series matchup that would have had the Red Sox meeting the National League champion Boston Braves. The Red Sox bounded into the storied season of 1949, not knowing they would again be in one of the great pennant races of all time. They were led by 2 pitchers, left-hander and 25-game winner Mel Parnell, and right-hander and 23-game winner Ellis Kinder. The Red Sox went into Yankee Stadium needing 1 win in the season's final 2 games to clinch the pennant. Manager Joe McCarty's smile turned into a frown when Mel Parnell and the Red Sox lost 5-4 in the first game. For the climatic game, the Red Sox would start Ellis Kinder, who was later relieved by an exhausted Parnell.
Old Reliable connects solidly for a towering drive that's going, it's gone. Into the right field stands for a home run that sparks a winning Yankee rally.
The deciding game was a game that a little bloop was hit over the infield, and our right fielder, Al Zarilla, tried to make a catch on it. It was hit by Jerry Coleman, and it was just out of his reach. If he makes the catch, we win the ball game. But as things happen, and baseball being a game of inches, those inches went against us in that ball game.
Players go wild with joy.
We went into Yankee Stadium, one game on top and came out one behind.
Over 2 seasons, the Red Sox had the best record in baseball. But they also led the league in unused World Series tickets. Entering the 1950 season, Ted Williams became baseball's first $100,000 player, and he worked for his money, even remaining in the lineup when the Red Sox had a 25-run lead in the 9th inning. The slugger shattered his left elbow in the All-Star game in Chicago, ending his season. Utility man Billy Goodman replaced Williams and surprisingly led the American League with a .354 batting average. Still, the best player in baseball was out of the Red Sox lineup. Without him, the team made a run at the pennant, but by the time October leaves had fallen, so too had the Red Sox. They finished 4 games out of first place. No sooner had the 1952 season begun than it was time for Ted Williams to say goodbye. The Marines had activated Williams for a second tour of duty in Korea. Williams was visibly moved during a Fenway Park farewell. He was presented with a book from the Red Sox fans containing 430,000 signatures. A Williams home run in a Red Sox victory added a dramatic touch to an emotional day. Many thought it might have been the 33-year-old's last Major League at-bat. He flew 39 missions in Korea. One of them nearly cost him his life when his Panther jet plane was hit. He was forced to make a spectacular crash landing, but as always, Ted Williams was heroically safe at home. Old foe Lou Boudreau became the Red Sox manager in 1952. He launched a youth movement that saw Johnny Pesky traded to the Tigers. This marked a temporary hiatus for Pesky in a Red Sox uniform. Otherwise, for 7 decades, he has been associated with the team as a player, manager, broadcaster, and coach. Johnny Pesky is the only person to have a piece of Fenway Park. Pesky's pole, still named after him.
Bill Parnell started this, and I guess they were right. They were in between innings, and late in the ball game, I guess somebody hit a ball around the right field line. It's only 295 feet from home plate here at Fenway. And Mel, of course, he's doing the color, and he says, "Gee, Johnny used to hit a couple balls." And in fact, he says he won a game for me one day that 2-1 that he hit a home run around the pole, or 3-2, whatever. And he says we used to call it Pesky's pole, and it was kind of catchy.
Among the new kids was 22-year-old Jimmy Pearsall from Waterbury, Connecticut. While not an extraordinary ball player, Jimmy Pearsall was worth the price of admission. He was a pitcher's best friend, regarded as the Red Sox greatest defensive outfielder of the 1950s. He patrolled center field relentlessly and amazed with his acrobatic catches. Jimmy Pearsall was also a crowd favorite, an eccentric, outrageous ball player who could not resist attention.
I was pitching a ball game in Chicago one day, and I'm ready to go into my pitch, and I hear a big roar from right field. So when I heard that, I stopped my pitch, and I looked out to right field, and all I could see was number 37 on the back of the uniform. Pearsall's back was facing the infield. He's looking into the crowd, leading a locomotive with the crowd there, P-I-E-R-S-A-L-L, hooray, hooray, you know. And when Lou Boudreau at the time was the manager, and Lou Boudreau called time, and when Jimmy came in, he told Jimmy, he says, "Jimmy, if you do that again, you're gone." Well, a few weeks later, Jimmy did the same thing, but he wasn't gone.
The Jimmy Pearsall story was irresistible to Hollywood, especially the part where he suffered a nervous breakdown. So a movie was made based on Pearsall's autobiography called Fear Strikes Out, with actor Anthony Perkins cast in the lead role, Norma Moore as Pearsall's wife, and Bart Burns as Red Sox general manager Joe Cronin. By mid-1953, Ted Williams had returned to the Red Sox lineup and hit a home run in his second Fenway at-bat. He had also retained his outlandish knack for getting in the last word.
They had a little Washington ball player, pitcher down in Washington by the name of Ramos. And Ramos, who was a pretty good pitcher, good curveball pitcher, and he struck Ted Williams out. And he said to Ted, "Would you mind signing that ball for me?" And Ted said, "Of course not," and signed the ball for him. So a few weeks later, the Washington club came up to Boston. Ramos is pitching. And he hit one of his 450 shots out in right field in Boston. He says, "Hey, Ramos, if you find that son of a bee," he says, "I'll sign that one too."
The Red Sox struggled in the mid-1950s and were buoyed by the presence of fascinating individual players. In 1955, one of these was Lynn, Massachusetts native Harry Aganis, who previously had made his mark at Fenway Park as an All-American quarterback at Boston University. In fact, Aganis was the #1 draft choice of the Cleveland Browns and spurned an offer from them to join his hometown Red Sox.
I think he would have been a wonderful quarterback in the National Football League, and he was a triple threat. You know, he could do everything.
In his rookie year, the Golden Greek hit 11 home runs and entering his second season promised to hit 300.
Harry was a great talent. On a road trip, Harry was having trouble, and the doctor was sent along with us. And I talked with the doctor, and he told me, he says, "Mel," he says, "I'm afraid when Harry goes into the hospital, he won't be coming out again." And I understand. Mr. Yawkey told the doctor, he says, "Get him on a flight back to Boston immediately. And if you can't get a reservation for him, charter a plane, but get him back."
But on June 27, 1955, all of New England was stunned by the death of 25-year-old Harry Aganis. The prime of his life ended by a large blood clot.
We knew he was ill, you know, very ill and all, and it's just a sad day for us, you know, when you lose a teammate like that. So young in life and such a promising career ahead of him. You know, it was just tough on everybody.
In 1956, Mel Parnell pitched a no-hitter, the first for the Red Sox since Howard Emke's 33 years earlier. For Parnell, a previous 25-game winner and the winningest left-handed pitcher in Red Sox history, the no-hitter against the Chicago White Sox marked the peak of an exemplary career.
We get into the 9th inning with 2 men out, and Walt Dropo, a former teammate, was in with the White Sox, so Walt comes in to pinch hit. Walt hits a ball just to the left of the mound, and I come off the mound and catch the ball, and I continue running to first base to put out unassisted. When I get to first base, Mickey Vernon, our first base, says, "What's the matter, fella? You afraid to throw the ball to me?" I said, "Mickey, I have all the confidence in the world with you, but I'm afraid I might have thrown it away."
With his name in headlines, it's Mel Parnell, no-hit pitcher.
What Ted Williams accomplished in the next 2 years is truly astonishing. In 1957, he won the American League batting title with an average of .388, a mark that was not topped for 22 years. It was a remarkable feat made even more impressive by the fact that Ted Williams was 39 years old. Then in 1958, number 9 and his teammate number 3, first baseman Pete Runnels, engaged in a hitting duel.
Pete would get 3 hits, Ted would get 4. They went down the stretch fighting had a great relationship doing it, but for the American League batting championship. Pete get 2 hits, Ted get 3. Pete said, "How you gonna beat out that guy?" It was something to watch, it sure was.
Ted Williams finished at .328, 6 points higher than his teammate Runnels, becoming the oldest batting champion in history. The kid was now 40 years old. On paper, those 1958 Red Sox looked loaded. Outfielder Jackie Jensen was named American League Most Valuable Player.
Jackie doubles down the left field line to drive home 2
But even with Jensen and the American League batting leaders in the lineup, the Red Sox finished in 3rd place. On August 4th, 1959, Elijah Jerry Pumpsy Green, a second baseman, made history by being the first black man to wear a Red Sox uniform at Fenway Park.
Only thing I can really think of is when on my way to home plate was I didn't want to strike out, because then I was telling myself I'd have to walk all the way back to the dugout. So the first time up at Fenway Park in Boston, I tripled. I took a deep breath, and everybody in the ballpark stands up and gives me a standing ovation.
On August 10th, 1960, Ted Williams clouted home runs number 5, 12, and 513, becoming baseball's 3rd leading home run hitter behind Jimmy Fox and Babe Ruth. He had also decided that the 1960 season would be his last. And saving the best for absolutely last, Ted Williams hit a home run on the final day of his career.
I remember the last time Williams was at bat. He hit 2 home runs. The first one, the umpire called foul. It went out of the ballpark fair, but it curved out into foul territory. The umpire never thought of judging where that pitch went or was going when it left the ballpark, which was the fence or the wall barrier. So in other words, the theory, Williams had 2 home runs the last time at bat.
The ball that he hit
was more on a line, and I'm sitting there, I'm standing there out in the bullpen, I'm watching this ball, and I'm thinking about, oh my God, what a way to go out.
Jack Fisher into his windup. Here's the pitch. Williams swings, and there's a long drive to deep right. That ball is going, and it is gone. A home run for Ted Williams in his last time at bat in the Major League.
The crowd roared as Williams started at first base. I said, and Williams has hit a home run in his last time at bat in the Major League. And John Updike, I think, wrote the greatest sports article I've ever read in the New Yorker magazine. He said, gods don't answer letters. And Williams never answered the fans' plea to come back and take a bow and tip his hat. What a way to go out. And Williams had the perfect way to quit and take the uniform off with his home run in his last time at bat.
In 1966, the coronation of Ted Williams was completed with his overwhelming induction into baseball's Hall of Fame.
Elected with Ted Williams with 282 votes, a percentage of 93.3. Ted was the only one elected.
His induction speech was one that was truly ahead of its time.
Baseball gives every American boy a chance to excel, not just to be as good as someone else, but to be better than someone else. This is the nature of man and the name of the game, and I've always been a very lucky guy to have worn a baseball uniform, to have struck out or to hit a tape measure home run. And I hope that someday the names of Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson in some way can be added as a symbol for the great Negro players that are not here only because they were not given a chance.
Because of Ted Williams, we began to look back at those Negro League teams and say, you know what, they deserve entry. And so as a result, in the years since Ted Williams' speech, the Hall of Fame has made a conscious effort to bring in some of those old Negro Leaguers. And that is a tremendous legacy to have, in addition to this unbelievable career.
The post-Williams Red Sox were hardly the most successful in team history. Between 1962 and 1966, the Red Sox, playing in the 10-team American League, finished 6th once, 8th twice, and 9th twice. However, those who cared enough about the team remember the era with great fondness and affection. On April 11th, 1961, playing before a sparse opening day crowd of just over 10,000, a 21-year-old rookie made his Major League debut. His name was Carl Yastrzemski, and he was only expected to fill the shoes of Ted Williams.
It was the toughest thing I had to face. It almost cost me my ability to make the big leagues. I would have liked to have come in unnoticed, being on all the covers of magazines as the next Ted Williams. When I came in, I completely changed my style.
In early June, Yastrzemski was batting just .215, so Tom Yawkey fetched Ted Williams back from a fishing trip off the coast of Florida. The next day, numbers 9 and 8 had a tutorial at Fenway, and by season's end, Yastrzemski had raised his average to .266. But Fenway fans were immediately expecting another star in left field, and the relationship rapidly deteriorated.
He'd hit a ground ball to second base and run about a third or two-thirds of the way down the line and stop and turn right. Wouldn't run through the base, and it wasn't that he was lazy, it was just that he was putting too much pressure on himself to be a better hitter, and when he wouldn't hit for a few days, it showed in his other play.
Do you realize afterwards that you maybe haven't run out a ball as hard as you could have, and then you say to yourself, why did I do that?
Yes, it's more of a mental thing, because usually you might be a little tired, say from having a cold, flu, and playing with a temperature or something like this, and then going 0 for 4, maybe making a fool out of yourself, it kind of irritates you. Then say we hit a little ground ball at second base, you're so irritated yourself, you just jog down or what have you. And it builds up for 2 or 3 days, and finally you say, what am I doing, what am I thinking of? And by the time you come out of it, you're 0 for 12, 0 for 13.
So this year we're going to try and eliminate some of that, eh?
We're definitely going to.
There were shining lights on those Red Sox teams, the brightest being Frank Malzone, a fixture at third base for 11 years. Malzone was a 3-time Gold Glove winner and a consistent batter who contributed 20 or more doubles for 7 consecutive seasons. For several years, the only rooting reason Red Sox fans had to tune into the All-Star game was to catch Frank Malzone in action. And he was there, representing the Red Sox an impressive 8 times. Pitcher Bill Monboquette gave the Red Sox a chance with every start he made. In May of 1961, the Medford, Massachusetts native struck out 17 Washington Senators, breaking Smokey Joe Wood's Red Sox single-game record and falling 1 short of Bob Feller's Major League record. And Pete Runnels finally got his batting titles, one in 1960, the other in 1962. On June 26, 1962, Earl Wilson blew down the Los Angeles Angels in a game at Fenway Park by a score of 2-0, and in the process pitched the Red Sox first no-hitter since Mel Parnell's in 1956. As if pitching a no-hitter were not a big enough feat on its own, Wilson also provided the only run he needed by hitting a solo home run. And just 5 weeks later, Bill Monboquette recorded another no-hitter, this one a 1-0 squeaker in Chicago. No-hitters notwithstanding, Red Sox fans did not mind it when their starters faltered, because that meant a call to the bullpen, where 6-foot 6-inch reliever Dick Raddatz resided. He was the most dominant relief pitcher of his time, and of the Red Sox 72 victories in 1963, Raddatz either saved or won 45.
Well, Raddatz was the most awesome relief pitcher that I ever saw. You know, it's not like 2 outs, you come in the 9th inning today. Dick Raddatz went 3 or 4 innings for a save, and he'd come back the next day and go 2 or 3 innings.
Raddatz was a Yankee killer, so dominant against them that their greatest star anointed him with a new nickname.
I had good luck against the Yankees, and Mantle especially. I faced him, I think, 63 times. I struck him out 47 times. He was the one that gave me the name The Monster. I struck him out with the bases loaded to end the ballgame in Yankee Stadium my rookie year, and as he was leaving home plate, Monster was one of the words he issued out. There was a lot of 4-letter words wrapped around it, but he yelled it so loud they heard him in the press box, and hence the name The Monster, and it's stuck to this day.
But regardless of his conquest, he ended each triumph with a signature salute.
I struck out Mantle, Maris, and Elston Howard on 10 pitches, and we won the game 2-1. And then when I did it, I threw my arms up in the air over my head, and I didn't realize I had done that. The next day, Kurt Gowdy, our great announcer, said, "Do you realize what you did last night?" I said, "Yeah, I struck out Mantle, Maris, and Elston Howard." He said, "No, that's not what I'm talking about." He said, "You threw your arms above your head." And he said, "I think the people took to that. They liked that." I didn't realize I had done it. He said, "Why don't you do it when you save a game at home?" He said, "I think the people like that, make it sort of your moniker." So I did. It was sort of my trademark. I think the people took to it. When I got traded to Cleveland, Bertie Tibbetts said, "No more of this arm throwing."
Were it not for Raddatz and Carl Yastrzemski, who won his first American League batting championship, all hope would have been lost for the 1963 Red Sox. Fortunately, when they needed it the most, a local boy from Swampscott, Massachusetts stepped to the plate for his first at-bat at Fenway Park. Tony Conigliaro was 19 years old.
There's a drive by Conigliaro, and it is out of here. What a bomb he is. Conigliaro hits a home run, his first time at bat at Fenway Park.
This was just the beginning of the fairy tale script. Conigliaro hit 24 home runs that season, despite missing 6 weeks with an assortment of injuries. In 1965, his 32 home runs made him the youngest player ever to lead either league in home runs.
And he gets a tremendous hand. What a thrill that must be for a 19-year-old boy who a year ago was playing high school baseball. Look at that smile on his face.
No, I guess not. How about
when impressionable Red Sox fans needed a breath of fresh air, Tony C. provided it. He was Boston's baseball answer to the Beatles, a ball player who dabbled as a matinee idol.
I need you, I do, girl.
On a September afternoon in 1965, 22-year-old Dave Moorhead juggled a ball hit to him. Upon gaining control, he completed the Red Sox third no-hitter in 4 years.
I said to Tillman, "What are we going to throw? The count's 0-2. He says, "I'm not calling this pitch. You're calling this pitch. You're telling me what we're going to throw." So I said, "Man, we're going to throw a curveball low and in, and hopefully they'll chase it." And hit a ground ball back to me, and I dropped it and was going to run over to first base, and everybody started screaming, and it was back on the mound, so I had to run back and pick it up real quick, and I threw hurriedly to first and threw it in the dirt, and Lee Thomas thankfully scooped it out for the final out.
Because the 1965 Red Sox finished a whopping 40 games out of first place, the 1966 Red Sox were essentially playing before family and friends.
We had no one at the ballpark. I think the most we ever drew was like 800,000, 700,000, something like that, and it wasn't fun.
But in '66, the second half of the year, we started to turn it around. I think we played better than 500 ball. We had a marked improvement from '65. We only lost 99 games. But it was an improvement in the second half. Then they decided to make a managerial change. And '67, of course, Dick Williams came on the scene.
Dick, will you make a prediction for the 1967 Red Sox?
I honestly think we'll win more ball games than we lose.
Those were words spoken by brash rookie manager Dick Williams about the 1967 Red Sox, a team that was a 100-to-1 shot to be in the World Series. For this was the same team that the year before had barely escaped last place in the 10-team American League.
We were tired of losing. I mean, really tired of losing. We just wanted to do anything we could do to win games. Dick came with a real good attitude, an aggressive attitude. Made us understand that we had to do the little things, the bunting, the hit and run, not just the home run, and get good pitching and defense. So if you made an error, I'll tell you, you heard about it.
Other than the hiring of Dick Williams as manager, the other crucial off-season move was made by Carl Yastrzemski, who underwent a rigorous workout regimen.
He decided he needed to get stronger. He lived in Linfield at the time. Gene Birdie was the trainer up at Colonial in Linfield. He went to the guy, and the guy worked him out all off season, made him bigger.
I almost walked out on him, but then my competitive nature said, I'm going to show this guy. And he just helped me tremendously. He put me in tremendous physical shape.
All of a sudden, he had greater bat speed. He could pull the ball, change his stance a little bit, and next year he had 44 home runs.
No-nonsense manager Williams took to umpiring spring training intra-squad games. He was clearly in charge.
Dick Williams came in and really changed the atmosphere. As he's been quoted as saying, he was the only chief and everybody else were the Indians.
Very high toward the flagpole area. Unser back, looking up, it is gone. Home run.
But what nobody anticipated is that Carl Yastrzemski had undergone a transformation from a struggling rookie to a good player. Until in 1967, he became Captain Carl, a baseball superman.
We went down to Yankee Stadium. Whitey Ford is pitching, making his 432nd Major League start, and Rohr is making his first.
Red Sox bench. Bill Rohr.
In the ninth inning, Tom Tresh led off, and he hit a fly ball to left field, and Yaz made one of the greatest catches that I've ever seen, and I said so.
Rohr winds. Here it comes. Fly ball to deep left. Yastrzemski is going hard, way back, and he dives and makes a tremendous catch.
That catch saved Billy Rohr's bid for a no-hitter in his major league debut.
When I was running back, my back was completely at home plate. I never really saw the ball until the last split second over my shoulder, and how I caught it, I really don't know. And I knew I wanted to save the no-hitter. And as I dove and caught the ball, it's the only thing that I thought about saving the no-hitter for Bill Rohr.
I was aware of what was going on, and then when Carl made that unbelievable catch in the ninth inning, that really just kind of put an exclamation point on what was going on.
With Rohr 1 out away from a no-hitter, Yankees catcher Elston Howard came to the plate.
Base hit.
I've been haunted, I suppose, if that's the right word, for 3 decades now about that, but I do recall Elston getting to first base, and the Yankee fans were vocal in their displeasure, and the fans were throwing those rented cushions, and they were throwing paper cups. Elston Howard, I think, said that that's the first time he'd ever gotten a hit in Yankee Stadium and got booed for the trouble.
Popped up, Canigliaro, plenty of room. Makes the play, the ball game's over.
Rohr's one-hitter was the first flicker signaling that 1967 was going to be a different year. With the emergence of several young players, including George Scott, New England became captivated by the team and began dreaming the impossible.
We decided we would make a recording, an audio recording, and a television show. And this is how it began. This is truly a love story, an affair twixt a town and a team. A town that had waited and waited for what seemed an impossible dream.
Due to its penchant for late-game wins, the team became known as the Cardiac Kids.
And the Red Sox have won it in 15 innings. The Red Sox pull it out 11-10 and go into a tie for first place in the American League as Jose Tarnabul is mobbed by his teammates going off.
They were becoming known as a fighting ball club, and one night in New York, they proved it.
I was pitching in a ball game that Thad Tillotson was pitching in also. The night before, Joe Foy had hit a grand slam to win a ball game. So he comes up in this particular game the next night, and he leads off with a 3-run home run. So his second time at bat, Tillotson is still in the ball game, and he throws at Joe once and misses him, throws at him twice and misses him, and finally hits him with a third fastball in the helmet.
Joe Foy.
Jim Lomborg was a gentleman and still is a gentleman. But the funny thing happens to Jim Lomborg. When he goes between those foul lines, his whole personality changes. He is no longer a gentleman. He is nasty.
I think most everybody on our team knew what was going to happen. And the first pitch that I threw, I aimed for just underneath his elbow towards the small of his back. And it went where I aimed it, and I hit him.
Whoa.
And so he's walking down first base, and he's jawing at me, and I'm jawing at him. But all of a sudden, the players are coming out of the dugout a little bit, and Rico, he starts jawing with Joe Pepitone.
Bang, everybody went at it. I ended up in the bottom of the pile. Next thing I know, I hear a voice. Where's my brother? Where's my brother? My brother was a security guard there, right at the dugout. They used to put him there when we came in, because, be close to him. And I said, what the heck is that? It's my brother Dave. And Dave, I said, here I am, I'm okay, everything's okay. He was like getting guys off me. And jeez, Dave, take it easy. And next time we came into Yankee Stadium, everybody's looking for my brother. And we looked up in the third deck, way out in left field. He's up there waving. It was incredible. They wanted to make sure there was no more fights and no more Dave going on the field.
Red Sox fever became an epidemic throughout New England, and after a 10-game winning streak, the returning team was welcomed by a crowd of 10,000 people at Logan Airport.
We're on the flight. We're starting to descend and getting close to Logan Airport in Boston, and the captain gets on. He said, fellas, we have I guess a little problem here. He said, originally we were going to go to the gate, park at the gate, and you guys would get out. But I got to let you know there's 15,000 people at the airport waiting for you.
It seemed like 100,000 people. We hadn't seen anything like it, but when we came back after that winning streak on the road, that told us that we were as good as anybody else in the American League at that time, and that kind of gave us the confidence for the pennant drive.
The Red Sox were in a 4-team pennant race, but thoughts that they were a most improbable team of destiny reached its peak one afternoon in Chicago. Former nemesis Elson Howard had been acquired from the Yankees for the storybook pennant drive, and it was he who was on the receiving end of a throw from the unlikely arm of weak-throwing Jose Tarnabul.
He couldn't break a pane of glass from 80 feet, let alone throwing somebody out from 250 feet. But that's the things that happen. Everybody contributes.
There's a drive into right field, caught by Tarnabul. Runner tags. Here's the throw home, and he is out at the plate. He is out at home.
To me, and with all due respect to Jose and his effort, the real play was made by Elston Howard at home plate, because Ellie had to jump for the throw. He actually literally jumped up, caught the ball one-handed with the catcher's mitt, came down and made a swipe tag on Barry to get him at the plate, which was just one of those plays that we'll never forget.
The '67 Sox got help on the mound from a previously untapped source named Gentleman Jim Lonborg, who pitched his way to one win after another, 22 in all.
But Lonborg had that tailing fastball in the 90s, middle 90s. I mean, but what he had was the real intimidator was the curveball. He would throw right at right-handed hitters, and the guys would buckle or go back, and the ball would go right over the plate and strike out a lot of guys that way.
Breaking ball got him.
Tony Conigliaro was entering his prime. Now at the age of 22, he became the youngest player in American League history to reach the 100 home run mark. And comparisons were being made to the greats of the game, including Willie Mays. And then on August 18, 1967, tragedy struck. A fastball from the Angels' Jack Hamilton sent Conigliaro down. Rico Petrocelli was the first to his side.
I ran out there and I saw his face, just if you're blowing up a balloon, just like that, swell up, blood was going through it. I said, oh my God. So naturally they called the trainer, they called the doctor. Doctor came out of the stands, rushed to his side, and I said to myself, this has got to be something permanent. The players, all of us, we were angry. We were just angry that this happened. Certainly to a young guy, to one of the important guys of our team, to a friend. You know, we didn't know right away, but we figured we lost him for the rest of the season, and we did. And he was just such a great hitter.
But this was a team that hopped on the shoulders of its captain Carl, and Yaz played like a Superman.
Home run, number 41 for Yastrzemski. And there's been a double play. Well hit to left. And that's going to be a great catch by Yastrzemski.
It just seemed that I was in that zone, which usually only happens for a couple of weeks. You get a hot streak and stuff like that. To keep it for that length of time really surprised me.
Everything he did really meant something. Get a base hit, put us ahead, home run, 3-run home run to put us ahead, to win the ball game, make a throw from left field to throw somebody out at second or at home. I mean, he just constantly did it all year, all year.
Somebody came to him when Yaz was having his great thrust and leading the team. And John Connolly, a news writer, was a wonderful guy, came to me and he said, I've got this, my wife and I worked out this tune, and Handel's Messiah. I said, would you do it? So I did it on the air.
Carl Yastrzemski, what power he has. Our Boston team is always on the beam, 'cause we got Yaz.
Yastrzemski was never better than in a season-ending two-game showdown against the Minnesota Twins, in which the Red Sox needed to win both to keep their impossible dream alive. His 44th home run sealed the first of two wins the Red Sox needed.
Yaz was on his tear, just hitting everything that came even close to the plate. And for us to win that ball game was pretty exciting because now we had to start thinking about getting ready for the next day.
All right, now we go into the last day. Now this is pressure. Like the 7th game of the World Series.
It was exciting. It was as exciting as it can get. You know, our backs were to the wall. We were playing a very, very tough Minnesota team, and we had to win the last game.
The pennant hopes of the Red Sox, Twins and Tigers were alive. Jim Lonborg was on the mound for the Red Sox, who were trailing 2-0 when he came to the plate in the 6th inning.
When I was at on the on-deck circle, I can remember walking up as the leadoff hitter to home plate and looking down to see Zoyo, I think it was Cesar Tovar at third base, and seeing that he was playing back just a little bit, and I said, let's give it a shot.
Good bunt, and he can't play it.
When Jim Lonborg led the inning off, the 5th or 6th inning or whatever, with a bunt single, that was what '67 was all about.
A bunt single for Lonborg to lead off the 6th inning.
This all happened on successive pitches. I got the bunt hit on Chance's first pitch. I think Adair got the single, moved me to second. Dalton Jones got the next hit. I couldn't score, bases loaded. Yaz comes up.
There's Cal Irmer in the Twins bench. tight and tense, looking at the action.
In that crucial season-ending series, Yastrzemski came to the plate 8 times and cranked out 7 hits, including a 2-run single that tied the game.
Base hit to center. Lonborg scores. Adair will score. It's tied up.
The opponents never really believed he was doing what he was doing. They just refused to really pitch around him. And they kept coming after him, and Yaz beat him time and time again.
Yaz will go to second. A run will score. There it goes, gets away. A run will score. 4-2. 1 out, 2 on. Killebrew has it knocked off his leg. That'll be another run.
Before long, we had a 5-2 lead, which was all I needed.
The Red Sox took a 5-2 lead into the 9th inning, and then the 1967 season, which began in solitude, ended in bedlam.
Little soft pop-up. Petrocelli will take it. He does. The ball game is over. The Red Sox win it.
And I saw that thing go up there, and I said, "Oh, baby, that wasn't too high," you know. I said, "Come on down to Papa." In my glove, and I squeezed that, and just elated. I mean, then there was pandemonium on the field.
And what a mob on this field. Arizona Tarmyaki. And what excitement we have here at Fenway Park.
It was something that I think that every kid ever growing up when I was playing baseball wanted to be part of. To be a winning pitcher and to be carried off of a field by the happy fans. And I've heard so many great stories afterwards about, you know, people have said they've got, you know, shreds of my shirt, and for all the shreds of my shirt that people have, you know, I must have been a size 56 because they just ripped off my whole undershirt. Shoelaces were gone, belt was gone, hat was gone, but it was still, you know, looking back on it, just a moment of a lifetime.
At that point, again, we were just so excited. We knew one of 2 things was going to happen. Either we were going to have a playoff game with Detroit, or we were going to the World Series.
We had to wait around for about an hour and a half, I think it was, to wait to find out the results of the Detroit California Angel game. Once we found out that the Angels had won, I think Dick McAuliffe hit into a double play to end up that game. The first double play he had hit into the whole summer. And when that was over and things had quieted down, I took the ball up. I asked the clubhouse man, like I said, I'd like to take this ball up to Mr. Yockey. And Mr. Yockey was there, and I told him I wanted him to have this game ball because it was something he waited a long time for.
It was a glorious season, one in which Carl Yastrzemski was voted most valuable player and became the last player in Major League Baseball to win baseball's Triple Crown. And Jim Longborg captured the Cy Young Award before pitching heroically in the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals. And although the Cardinals won the series in 7 games, the 1967 season will be forever remembered as the year of the impossible dream. And more importantly, the year that rejuvenated the Boston Red Sox.